services PMIs this morning help, do you think?
Well, I think at the margin, I think it sort of supported the idea the Bank of England has a bit of headway to keep rates unchanged for now. So clearly there's a lot of economic risk still out there, but the fact the service sector was posting some improvements into the end of Q1 clearly would have been of some comfort to the committee.
Nothing till after Mr. Carney gets there, right?
I wouldn't say necessarily it's a done deal. I mean, clearly we need to see what the economic numbers show over the next couple of months, most importantly of which will be the Q1 GDP reading. Clearly there's a lot of speculation whether or not the UK economy moved into a triple dip in the first quarter. We think it just about avoided one, but the weakness of construction activity and the cold weather could just swing the balance. So if we get a very weak Q1 GDP number at the end of April, I mean, it'll make for a very interesting May meeting. But notwithstanding that, clearly I think the momentum now is with Mr. Carney. They're going to wait to see until Mr. Carney arrives at the Bank of England, and that then potentially opens the door for further stimulus in the second half.
I mean, if that Q1 does come in, if that GDP number does come in weak, do you think we could get another 25 billion as a setup for Mark Carney coming in?
Well, I mean, quite conceivably. Clearly, 3 members of the Monetary Policy Committee, including, of course, the Governor, I don't know how he voted today. I guess we'll wait and find out in a couple of weeks. But to date, have been voting for an immediate extension. So I think there are grounds that to inject more quantitative easing here, along with a range of other measures which the Monetary Policy Committee are clearly considering.
What's your call on sterling at the end of the year? Cable first.
Yeah, I mean, we think cable is vulnerable to further downside pressure. We're looking for 145 at the end of the year. It's a clearer cut, I think, the outlook for cable going forward, not least because of the risks to the UK economy versus the growth we're seeing in the US at the moment. So on a relative basis, the US is clearly outperforming. And of course, there's talk about monetary stimulus in the US being tapered off possibly in the second half of this year, whereas we're talking about more expansion. So risks to cable, I think, are to the downside, certainly.
But you say the gamble, when you're looking at euro sterling, is greater because we don't really know which way it's going to go. Which way do you gamble now on that?
Yeah. Well, we think around 118 to 120, sterling euro, around 84 to 85 euro sterling is probably pretty much around fair value for that currency if you look at sort of relative price movements. But clearly it's not about price movements, it's about event risk in Europe at the moment. And clearly the events in Cyprus and Italy recently have just highlighted just how febrile market sentiment is. If those continue, then I think sterling euro will continue to benefit from safe haven flows out of Europe into the UK. So you could see sterling moving a little bit higher.